So 2026 is approaching quickly, and along with that, most people start assessing their life, the goals that they have, and the things that they want to do in the next year. I personally try to take a look at my personal finances every single year, and I've developed a framework that has helped me get to a net worth of $200,000 at the age of 26. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tyler Warlow, and I make videos on self-improvement topics that I wish I knew when I was younger. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the financial steps that you should take to help set yourself up for financial success in 2026. If that sounds interesting to you, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Now, the first thing I'm going to recommend that you do, if you haven't already done this, is determine what your net worth is. And the easiest way to describe that you're going to do this is essentially take all the things that you own and their value and then subtract all the debt that you have from it. In other words, you're going to subtract your expenses from your assets. And this is going to tell you your net worth, or how much you are worth. So to give you a quick example, essentially you're going to take all of your assets. So this is going to be any money that you have in your savings, your checkings account, any retirement accounts such as a Roth IRA or a 401k, and you're going to add all of that together. Next, you're going to want to determine all of your expenses. For a lot of people, that's going to be their debt that they owe, and you're going to simply subtract that total amount of debt from that total asset value that you already determined. And that's going to give you a net worth number. This might take a little bit of time, but it's going to help give you a good idea of what your starting point is. If you want to try and make this process a little easier, there are a ton of great apps out there, both free and paid, that over time, as you spend money throughout the year, it will tell you what your net worth is. Essentially, you can link all your bank accounts and retirement accounts, as well as all of your credit cards, and it will essentially tell you what your net worth number is. I personally have an app that I pay for, but there are some great options out there that are free. Once you've determined your net worth or your starting point, you're going to next want to figure out what your monthly expenses are. And I recommend taking two approaches here. First, I'm going to recommend that you determine what your essential expenses are. In other words, the things that you have to pay for in order to get by. This is going to include your rent, your groceries, your utilities, any car payments that you have to make, and you're going to want to determine what that essential number is. Next, once you've figured out what your essential number is, figure out what your lifestyle expense number is. This is going to include any sort of expenses such as your personal hobbies, going out to eat with friends or family, and just doing things for fun, and determine how much you spend per month on those. The reason that I recommend determining these expenses in these two ways is because if you determine your essentials, you can set yourself up with an emergency fund. So that way, if anything goes wrong, such as losing your job, you know what you have to be able to cover and what you can cut out in the meantime. By determining how much you spend on your current living style, you can then work towards saving and investing an amount that could help you eventually reach a point that covers the living style that you like to live. There are two different approaches that give you two different numbers, but I think it's important that you know both of them. Now that you've got those two baseline steps covered, the next thing that I'm going to recommend you do is use any of the benefits that your employer offers you that you have not used already. In other words, if you have any unused doctor visits or any dentist appointments that you can use them. If you have any unused FSA money, use it. Those benefits are essentially free money that you lose once the next year starts. If you haven't used them, you don't get to go back and use them again. You just reset on those benefits. So you lost money essentially by not using those items. A really big one that I recommend that you pay attention to is your company's 401k match. A 401k match is essentially free money, and it's one of the best returns that you're ever going to get. Think about it this way. A lot of people are trying to invest money in the stock market to get returns such as 50%. But ensuring that you get your employer match is going to be a 100% return on that money. In other words, any money that you put in up to the match is doubling automatically with no effort on your part. It doesn't get much better than that. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of that and try and get as much of your match as possible if you haven't already. Once you've got that covered, I recommend that you take a look back at your past year. If you had any financial goals such as saving for a house or spending less, assess those and see how you did. Most people are going to be able to do this best if they have been tracking how much they've been spending or if they adhere to some sort of budget, but you can still go back and review your goals and see if you met them or not. From there, you can assess what you did well or what could be improved. You could also determine if there were any sort of unexpected expenses that you couldn't really account for. It's important to review those expenses, but also important not to beat yourself up too hard if you didn't meet them. Life happens, and the best that we can do is try to plan for it, but sometimes things happen that we just can't account for. So I recommend you going back through your previous year, assessing your goals that you made, and determining how well you did, what worked, and what didn't. From there, you can move on to the next step, which is setting up your goals for 2026. I recommend determining some short-term and some long-term goals. In other words, what are some things that you would like to achieve in a short time frame? That can be something from only 1 to 2 years, to some things that you would like to achieve in 5 to 10 years. An example for a short-term saving goal is maybe saving up enough to put down a down payment on a house. Or a longer-term saving goal could be to hit a certain number in your retirement accounts. Whatever it is for you, try to take some time to assess what it is that you would like to achieve. The best way to go about doing this, in my opinion, is figuring out what exactly you value and then aligning your goals with that. If you end up setting goals chasing after some sort of number that doesn't necessarily align with the values that you have in life, all you're going to end up doing is overworking yourself and potentially burning out and then just never reaching your goals in the first place. So take some time to sit down and just assess what your values are and figure out some short-term and long-term goals from that. From there, you're going to want to develop a plan for your goals. Studies have found that people are much more likely to succeed in their goals if they actually write them down. So find a piece of paper, write down those goals that we talked about, and then try to write a loose plan towards achieving them. When you assess how you did in the previous year, what are some things that you think that you could use to move towards the current goals that you just set? Is it that you want to set aside a specific amount per month towards one of those goals? Is it that you want to update your spending and maybe spend less? Whatever it is, try to write some bullet points for a plan towards achieving those goals. And then on a somewhat regular basis, come back, look at those goals, look at that plan. It's going to make it much more likely that you succeed in pursuing your financial goals in 2026. And finally, now that you've gone through all these other steps, I highly recommend reassessing your budget and making a new one for 2026. This is an easy way to get some savings on your bills, so go back in step 2 and review those monthly expenses and see if there's anything that you could potentially negotiate on. Go through and try to contact companies such as your insurance or utilities and see if you can get some lower rates. You'd be surprised at how often that companies will give you those discounted rates in order to not lose you. Also assess some of the things that you spent money on and what truly brought you happiness and value, and then structure your budget around that. So let's say you enjoy going to the gym. That might be something that you're willing to pay more money towards because it's something that you would use more often. But if you're someone who is spending a lot of money on alcohol, for say, but you don't really like it that much, maybe make a smaller budget for your alcohol consumption. Align this budget and spending with the plans that you set up in the previous steps, and it's going to set you up for financial success in 2026. But that's going to be it. Now, obviously, there are steps that you could personally remove from all of this, but it's my framework that I use at the end of the year to give me a snapshot of where I currently stand, as well as help keep moving me towards the goals that I've set for myself. Hopefully you found the information in this video to be helpful or informative, and if you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to join me along in this self-improvement journey. If you're interested in more videos like this one where I talk about money related topics, be sure to check out this video right here where I talk about 5 money lessons I wish I knew earlier. If you're interested in my most recent videos, be sure to check out this video right here. But until the next time, this is Tyler Warlow, signing off.